Most people, when you're looking for summer wines, are looking for something that's light and refreshing as opposed to something that's a little heavier that might require a meal. So if you're talking about white wines, you're talking about light styles, usually wines that are stainless steel produced, don't spend a lot of time in wood, have nice bright acidity, crispness, because that's refreshing in your palate, and have good fruit and maybe just a hint of sweetness. All of those things kind of refresh and cleanse your palate. This particular wine that we have is a wine from Abundance Winery called Bountiful Blanc. It's made from Symphony and Sauvignon Blanc grapes, and it fits all the criteria I just described. It's a nice, refreshing, fruity wine, enjoyable, easy to drink. So if it's a little warm outside, and if you're having light food, for example, and you want to sip on some wine, this is a perfect example. Wonderful option for people today for warm weather wines are what I think used to be called dry rosés. Most people know them as rosés, dry rosés, rosados, very, very popular in Europe for everyday consumption. And quite truthfully, I think in our country, because a lot of people associate this color with a blush wine, like a white Zinfandel, especially wine people, tend to have stayed away from these types of wines. A very good friend of mine, actually the owner of this company who made this wine, this is Uvaggio Winery, and this is a Rosado. Jim Moore was the owner, and one day he came in here with this wine and asked me to try it. And he knew that I wasn't a big fan of this type of wine, but he told me, Michael, I think you need to put this in the refrigerator, give it a little bit of a chill, pull it out and try it, and I think you'll like it. These are great to just sit out, by the pool and sip on. They're great if you have light finger foods, if you're just nibbling on snacks before dinner or even into the first course. It's got enough structure to handle light foods, yet it still qualifies as that light, fruity, really refreshing and tasty wine, again, during our warm weather months. A lot of times when you're talking about warm weather wines, a lot of people will just say red wines don't fit that mold. They're too heavy, there's too much alcohol, they're just too big, and they need food with them to do well. But there's many different styles of red wines in the world. And I have a Zinfandel here, which is of course a signature grape here in Lodi. And it's one of the more versatile grapes. This is a Campus Oak Zinfandel. So this is a wine that's a little lighter style red, has wonderful fruit. Really the strength of the wine is its fruit. It has a little bit of spiciness just to add to the complexity, a little lower in alcohol. So this is again a style, this is a red wine that you could have in warm weather months for sure, because it's not going to overpower your palate. It's not going to make you think, my gosh, this is such a heavy wine, it's almost a burden to drink. It's a very enjoyable, simple style that could be lightly grilled foods again, if you're thinking summer and barbecue and trying to go that route, or just as a sipping Zinfandel. This is a perfect example. There are many, many Lodi wineries that produce this style. This happens to be a grape that does particularly well in Lodi. It's a Tempranillo because it's a Mediterranean grape, primarily Spain and Portugal. And one of our growers here has family in Spain and grew up there and came to know this grape very well. And our climate is considered Mediterranean in Lodi. So I think Marcus Bokish, who's the gentleman I'm talking about, kind of put two and two together and said, well, let's see how these grapes do in Lodi, and they've done exceptionally well. And as I was talking about with Zinfandel, again, we're dealing with styles. And Tempranillo in Lodi, for me, tends to be one of two ways. It can be a little bit darker and more extracted, a little bit spicier and a little more oak-driven, and would be that kind of dinner-oriented wine that we were talking about when we were talking about Zins. Or it can be a lighter, fruitier, very approachable style, much like this wine. This is a Tempranillo from Alta Mesa Cellars, and much like the Zin, much like the Campus Oak Zin we were talking about, its strength is its fruit. And it's upfront fruit. So when you smell this wine, you just get this very enticing cherry berry aroma from it, and it just makes you want to try this wine. Again, color-wise, you can see that this is a little bit darker than the Campus Oak Zin, but not much. This is a light wine that is fruity, but it has some other characteristics about it that really make it very appealing, and it has no residual sugar. So all the sugar was fermented out of this. And now we have a bone-dry white wine, and that's, of course, the classic definition of dryness means absence of residual sugar. So you have a wine that has no sugar, but it has a nice melony kind of quality to it. So it's a little different type of fruit. It's melons, and it has a fresh, almost fresh cut grassed kind of aroma to it. A very, very bright acidic style. Sauvignon Blanc is known for acidity. What I like about it is it's got a little bit different aroma profile. Sometimes you get a little honey from this wine. There's a lot of really nice characteristics to it, and again, a noble grape variety. Been around for a long time, and I would highly recommend people to, you know, if you have tried Sauvignon Blanc in the past, give it a shot again, because it is the perfect wine on a warm summer day, because this bright acidity it keeps refreshing your palate, keeps allowing you to come back and taste a little more, and that's what you want in something that's summer wine oriented, if you will.